And thanks for staying with us on Morning Live. Welcome back. We were in conversation with Unathi Kamlana before the break. And Unathi, of course, the newly appointed Commissioner of the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. Unathi, thanks so much for getting back to us. Apologies for the poor quality on our previous connection. So I was asking you about what you plan to do differently in order to make sure that customers of the financial sector are actually treated in a fair manner. What sort of approach would you bring?
Thank you very much. I was just saying before we were cut off that I think the most important pillar of customer protection is to provide information to financial customers. I think what we want to see is informed financial customers who can be able on their own to assess the risks that they are taking, to understand what rewards also there are in terms of the financial services and products that they interact with. And therefore, that will be what our focus is. I think also importantly, as I was indicating earlier, quite important for us is to work with financial sector players, because if you get market conduct right, you also increase confidence in the financial sector, which is important for their sustainability and growth as well as a sector. So that really is what our focus is going to be strategically in terms of what we focus on as the FSCA.
Unathi, you've been quoted as saying that you prefer forming partnerships with the regulated institutions as opposed to the watchdog approach. Care to explain that to us further?
Well, I don't think it is a preference in the place of being a watchdog. The regulator remains a watchdog. The emphasis is about working together with the financial sector as opposed to being reactive to problems when there is a scandal. I think that is the conversation, the context within which we were having that conversation. I think it is to work very closely, to be very close to what their business models are, what changes there are as well as they take place, so that as a regulator you can be agile and be able to change approach and to adjust immediately as business models are adjusting. But that's where conduct risk and customer protection issues arise. So as a watchdog, of course, if there are compliance issues and if there are failings in the sector, the regulator should not hesitate to take action and enforce the law. So that we will do, certainly. But I think the emphasis was on being close in working together with the sector so that you don't just wait and be reactive in your approach as a regulator.
And speaking of, you have an instance, for example, a situation whereby for many years, South African customers have been complaining about debit orders that go off from their bank accounts, for example, that they never authorized. And it's the biggest nightmare. You find yourself sometimes from having to reverse 5 to 7, however many of those debit orders that are around the region of 100 Rand each. And the banks have just never taken responsibility for such, Unathi. What role would you play in that regard?
So, I think the South African Reserve Bank National Payment System Department is best placed to deal with that. They lead on the conduct of banks with regards to payments. I think they work together with the Payment Association of South Africa. And in fact, I think in the recent past, that partnership has yielded some fruit, because I think customers are now able to reverse unauthorized debit orders, not at their own expense, which used to be the case, I think, when this started. So I think there is a healthy focus by the National Payment System Department and the Payment Association of South Africa on this question of unauthorized debit orders. And banks have come to the party as well, because they are members of PASA, the Payment Association of South Africa.
Just a final one, because this is an introductory interview, as it were. What's your take on the need to regulate areas like crypto assets and cryptocurrency?
Yes, so I think firstly, quite important to state that my appreciation would be crypto assets as opposed to currency. I think there are economic definitional issues which make some of the cryptos not qualified to be referred to as currencies. I think there might be a medium of exchange, but they're not a store of value and they're not a unit of account in sort of the general sense. And I think the FSCA has started already to incorporate some of the crypto assets in the phase Act regulatory framework in order to provide some requirements on the service providers of cryptos. And I think it's a very responsible approach to approach this. I think you want to maintain a balance between protecting customers and making sure that they've got sufficient information to make the decisions that they need to, and of course, embracing innovation and competition as well, which I think is a responsible approach that the FSCA has taken.
Unathi, thanks so much for speaking to us, and no doubt we will be speaking to you quite a bit going forward. And that was Unathi Kamlana, who is the newly appointed Commissioner of the Financial Sector Conduct Authority, as his term in office is to start later on in the year. All right.